Good evening and thank you for joining us on the War Diary. On the 403rd day of the war, these are the main highlights of the day at 7 p.m. Beirut time. We begin with the situation in Lebanon. The southern suburbs of Beirut were rocked by 13 Israeli airstrikes on Tuesday, starting at 10:30 a.m. after a precarious calm had prevailed in the area in recent days. In the area between Har Tahrik and Bir al-Abed, the Zain medical complex was destroyed. Numerous other buildings were also demolished. The area around the Sayyida Zainab complex in Har Tahrik was also targeted, along with Hadath Jamous near the Mechanical Control Center, Hay al-American, Khubayre, Laylaki, Mreje, and the Hadi Nasrallah Highway. At least 5 people were killed on Tuesday afternoon in an Israeli strike on a house in Abadiyeh in the Kaza of Alay, according to a preliminary assessment by the Lebanese Ministry of Health. This is the first time this locality to the east of Beirut is targeted. A security source told AFP that the home was housing displaced people who had fled the Israeli bombardment. The villages of southern Lebanon are still under fire from the Israeli army. On Tuesday, 12 people were killed on Saksakiyeh, 5 in Tefahta, and 1 in Burj al-Shamali. In Nabatieh, an Israeli strike on Tuesday afternoon targeted the area around Habush International School. At around 11 a.m. this morning, the Ministry of Health reported 1 dead and 4 wounded in a strike on a house in the Al-Qa'idiyya neighborhood of Hermel. Another raid targeted a house destroyed in Dibel in the town of Bint Jbeil. In the Kaza of Tyre, a raid on a building in Siddiqeen left 2 people dead and a number wounded. Additionally, 16 people were killed and 10 wounded, according to the Ministry of Health, in an Israeli strike on Monday evening targeting the locality of Ain Yaqub in the Akkar Kaza, in the far north of Lebanon. The strike, marking the first against this village, targeted a house occupied by displaced people. According to information obtained by This is Beirut's correspondent, the apartment targeted belonged to a former leader of the Syrian Social Nationalist Party, Ahmad al-Hashim, and housed a family of displaced persons from the locality of Arb Salim. For its part, Hezbollah announced this morning that it had carried out 21 operations against Israeli targets in the last 24 hours. It also announced that it had intercepted an Israeli Hermes 450 drone over Nabatieh, forcing it to leave Lebanese airspace. It also claimed responsibility for an attack on the Israeli town of Kfar Blum, a few kilometers from Kiryat Shmona. In Gaza, the Gazan Civil Defense announced on Tuesday morning that at least 14 people were killed in several Israeli strikes on Palestinian territory. The Israeli army also announced that 4 of its soldiers had been killed in the Gaza Strip, bringing the number of Israeli soldiers killed to 376 in the Palestinian territory since the start of its ground operation on October 7, 2023. On Tuesday, the Israeli army announced the opening of a new crossing point for humanitarian aid to Gaza on the eve of a deadline set by the United States for the Israeli authorities to allow increased aid to the Palestinians. Humanitarian access to Gaza is insufficient in the face of the catastrophic situation, said the United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees, which Israel has decided to ban. The human toll since the start of the war at 7 p.m. Beirut time. The Lebanese Ministry of Health reported that 3,287 were killed and 14,222 injured due to Israeli attacks on the country since October 8, 2023. On the Gaza side, the enclave's Ministry of Health has reported at least 43,665 Palestinians killed and 103,076 wounded since October 7. On the diplomatic front, the leaders of Arab and Muslim countries meeting in Saudi Arabia called on Israel to withdraw completely from the Arab territories it occupies to achieve comprehensive peace in the Middle East. The Arab Islamic Summit hosted by Saudi Arabia called for unity of all Palestinian territories within a Palestinian state. Summit participants also strongly condemned the actions of the Israeli army, described as a crime of genocide, particularly in the north of the Gaza Strip in recent weeks. Speaking at the meeting, Lebanon's caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati asserted that an unprecedented crisis was threatening the existence of the land of cedars. He called for pressure on Israel and the full implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701. For its part, Hamas urged Arab and Muslim countries to implement the declarations made and force the Hebrew state to cease its aggression. Meanwhile, Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich pledged Israel's annexation of Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank by 2025, saying he saw an opportunity in Donald Trump's return to power in the United States. That's it for today's recap. See you tomorrow for another roundup of the situation. Until then, stay connected on our website www.thisisbeirut.com.lb and on all our social media platforms.